Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So today we have some products and more products of the year, science stuff of the year. And well, this one, I don't know, you take a look at it and you decide for yourself. I think it's great. But again, we've done 4 science curriculums this year. So you take a look at it and see what you think. But first off, of course, we have product of the day. I also want to show you either in a short or in another video for ADHD students, a history curriculum I think is really good. But right now, we're back to science. We're talking about science. And first I want to show you Camelot Jr. So let's take a look at that. So this is how you set it up. So this is one of the easier ones. This is, as you can see, challenge 6. So we set it up, just the king on top and the queen over there. And it tells you which blocks you're going to be using for this. So for this one, we have this block. Oops, where's the other block? So for this one, we have this block and we have this block, as you can see there. Those are the blocks you need to solve it. Now, in order to solve it, you got to get the queen to her king or the princess to the knight, whichever you like. So this, of course, is very easy because you just do like that. And then she goes upstairs and upstairs again, and she's there. So that would be challenge 6. Now it goes all the way up to, you get harder ones and harder ones. I mean, we're going up. Now this is what I use. Sometimes I would say, okay, instead of such and such today, you can solve some of these problems. So we would either do it together. These smart games you can do together on a team, or have them solve on their own as kind of like just an extra thing they had to complete, or complete instead of schoolwork. If it's a day and it was going rough, which happens, then I was like, okay, well, instead then fine, complete some smart games. All right, so the products we were talking about today, this is from The Good and the Beautiful. Good and the Beautiful is very aptly titled. This is Science for Little Hearts and Hands. So this is Wind and Waves. So I think it's brilliantly named, Wind and Waves. This is the parent guide. I'm going to show you that I don't think you need the parent guide for it. But again, it's for, the stories can be for up to age 10, so it can be done family style. I think maybe up to 8. Because you do learn a lot through the stories, I'll show you. But then the activities, these are kind of for younger children a little bit. So story time. So this is what is a meteorologist. This is lesson 1, okay? Supplies need optional activity. If you want to do an optional activity, and the optional activity, which that's one of the things I love about The Good and the Beautiful, is they have optional activities, and that's lesson 2. So it's not very complicated. This was made for younger kids, but again, I think you can use it for older kids as well. So these are all the supplies. Continue. There's like 3 pages of supplies. One of the ways I do it with an ADHD student is we don't do, I just don't do busy work. But that being said, an activity isn't necessarily busy work. One of the things you can do instead, if you're predicting weather, is just take out a calendar and then every day over the span of a month, just peek outside and draw what you see that day. Okay, so a day at the news station. So this we're talking about what is a meteorologist. So the discussion that we're going to have is what's the atmosphere, what's a meteorologist, and what would be your favorite part of being a meteorologist. So this is a day at the news station. Now the downside is some of these stories, just a couple of them are a little long with technical details. So this starts out pretty interesting. It's not bad. It explains about meteorologists, and the mom works at the station as a meteorologist and what she does at work. But then it starts getting into, it was a little long, but what was especially long, okay, so first I want to show you fun facts about meteorologists. So that's why I think you don't need this book if you don't want, and how this is good for also older kids, because it has thermometer, barometer, anemometer. So it's got a lot of definitions and things if that interests you and you want them to learn that stuff. Now, this was a long story. This was one of the ones that I was like, no, we had to stop reading it. It was so long, and it goes into temperature, so much into temperature. And Celsius. But this one, I'm telling you, it just goes on and on. Like today in Canada, the temperature was below freezing. But then people living in this area of Canada, well, freezing, it just goes on and on about temperature. It was too long. So that wasn't a hit. It does discuss mercury, Celsius, Fahrenheit, things like that. But again, a lot of these stories are really interesting. One of them I liked. They have, I don't know if they're by all different authors or not, but it talks about thunder and lightning. So this is great. This is one of those curriculums that you can kind of do. You can just sit down and read. You learn a lot from reading books to kids, like just a ton of stuff. And while they're eating, you can sit down. Callie's lightning storm. So while they would have snack, I read this a few times. There's also in here, it does have about dolphins and the deep sea and ocean animals and things like that. The blue whale is the heaviest animal on the planet and weighs 150 metric tons. An electric eel. Yeah, I just think it's a good curriculum. It's an interesting curriculum, and it's not hard, right? You can just sit there and read it. And it does have additional activities. If I would do it over again, I wouldn't get this because, again, I just feel like that's a lot of stuff you don't necessarily need. Like it talks about patterns and things, which, sure, very interesting, but for little kids, right? But it's just not something that you need to do. Yeah, but anyway, I still think it was good. Yeah. So there you go. There's a peek inside of it. I think it's good on its own as just the big book of science stories, Wind and Waves. I think it's good on its own as just a book you read aloud. Yeah. And discussing the ocean. So definitely I think was good, but I would skip this unless you have little kids. But then if you have little kids, what are the odds they're going to just be sitting there ready to learn? Maybe your kids are different than mine. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. It's good to see you. And tomorrow I will show you some more hits and misses. Bye-bye.